I'm a driver, and I'm a flyer. I waited a long time for a shot like this.
What do you think? Well, what do you know?
What? I haven't seen Solo: A Star Wars Story. What is going on here? Huh?
Push it!
So glad we took this job!
Hey, what is up, all moviegoers? TCT here again, and I am on my way back from seeing Solo: A Star Wars Story. Now, first of all, I want to get into this. Sorry if I cut off a little bit because I'm driving, but I want to get into this. My review of The Last Jedi, I give it a high praise, mostly because my little cousin was there. But if you notice in the video, I really didn't give it a lot of things that went well. The Last Jedi was par at best. You know, I wasn't a very big fan of it. I thought it was passable, definitely. It was definitely passable, but it could have been done a lot better. Now, going into Solo: A Star Wars movie, I had really low expectations because of the way A Last Jedi went. So, I wasn't expecting it to be fantastic. And I was proven wrong a little bit. This movie actually did really well. There's certain things in this movie, you're like, yeah. The story in the movie is like, yeah, I can see why people complain about the story when they go see this. It's not that fantastic of a story, but the action in the movie, the reason why most people go see Star Wars is for the Star Wars action. The action in the movie makes up for a lot of, you know, bad writing. You can tell that they were really trying to hide things in this movie. I would say the first 45 minutes, 30 minutes to 45 minutes, that sets the tone really well for the movie. That's the beauty about Solo: A Star Wars Story, is the pacing. The pacing never really fades. In the middle, you get a little bored, but that's basically because they're doing story. And you have to pay attention. I would say people that are fan of the Clone Wars series and the Rebels series, you're going to have more of a good time than the casual Star Wars moviegoer, because it's right up the alley of the people that are fans of the animated series. Like, you're going to notice that more people that like the animated series are actually going to like this film rather than hate it. I mean, I am a big fan of Rebels. Even though Rebels is, you know, it's an animated show, it's actually really fantastic the way they do certain things. Rebels has this spirit about it to when they do their action sequences, and you feel that in this movie somehow. And the special effects are always amazing in Star Wars. This is probably one of the better Star Wars action movies that you're going to get. A Last Jedi didn't really have a lot of action sequences. It focused more on the story and the plot, even though it wasn't that great. This was pretty much all action based. Like, this was fantastic when it came to those action sequences. For the movie goer that has never seen Star Wars before, this is one that you would probably want them to start out on. Like, this is, to me, I liked Rogue One, but everybody was crazy about Rogue One. They're like, oh, it's great, it's fantastic. To me, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this was better than Rogue One. Of course, some of the acting, yes, was cheesy. Some of the acting could have been done a little bit better. Emilia Clarke, she played a good role, but the acting was very much over the top with her. Same with Woody Harrelson. But the guy that played Han Solo, he did a fantastic job. But I would say the steal of this movie was Donald Glover playing Lando Calrissian. he had that Billy D. Williams feel down. Like, he really had Billy D. Williams down. He even talked like Billy D. Williams, you know? Hey, Han, how you doing, man? Han, like, stuff like that, man. He wouldn't call him Han, he'd call him Han, you know? Han was the name that Billy D. gave him instead of Han, because Han was what Lando called him, and this one's like, he's like, my name is Han. He's like, okay, Han. He's like, Han. My name's Han. He's like, well, Han. Like, he wouldn't give him the choice. He called him Han. He called him whatever he wanted to call him. And they actually showed Millennium Falcon, how the origins of the Millennium Falcon came. Of course, everybody knows the Millennium Falcon. You know, the Millennium Falcon is, other than Darth Vader, is the one thing that you see on any poster, you're like, oh, this is Star Wars. You know, this is really Star Wars. The Millennium Falcon was excellent in this movie. Especially the moments when Han Solo finally gets to drive the Millennium Falcon. He gets to pilot that thing. And there's a really good moment, and trust me, I'm going to be talking about this movie, so if you're worried about spoilers, then get out. There's a really good moment at the end of one of the chase sequences when Lando is looking at the Falcon and it's all beat up because Han Solo was driving it, which he drove fantastically. They would have gotten destroyed had he not been behind the wheel. Trust me, they would have gotten destroyed had he not been behind the wheel. He's like, what a beautiful ship, and the Millennium Falcon is like in ruins. It's it's actually a funny part. This movie's not perfect by any means. I did not like the fact that they were trying to steal the coaxium throughout the whole thing, and people kept changing and turning. I mean, it is a smuggler's life, I can understand that, but to me, what saved this movie was two things. What saved the movie was the action sequences, which were, it's probably the best action Star Wars you're going to see. I mean, it really is. The action sequences were fantastic in this film. And the music is always what makes the scene perfect. The action sequences are made by the music. If the music is not there, there's no action sequence in Star Wars. You've got to have the da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. You got to have that, and that plays a lot in this movie because that is Han Solo's, you know, pilot music for when he is steering or piloting the Millennium Falcon, I should say. But I don't want to get too much into details because people think this movie is bad. It's not. It's actually a good movie. It is over the top a little bit. Very over the top a little bit. But you do get to see him run the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. You get to see him do that. You get to see him win the Millennium Falcon from Lando Calrissian. You get to see what a cheap man Lando Calrissian is. And you get to see how he falls for the girl and he has a belief in people, but it fades because he's in the smuggler's life, and they do teach him those lessons, which is why when he meets Luke Skywalker in A New Hope, he's all like, I don't know about people, like, I don't know, like, he's been in the life so long, you know. Chewbacca was a saving point in this movie. You got to see him meet Chewbacca for the first time. Beautiful sequence. Beautifully done sequence when he met Chewbacca for the first time. He was thrown into this pit where Chewbacca was being chained, and basically he was originally Chewbacca's food. He was his lunch. And Chewbacca, they were all muddy in this mud pit, and Chewbacca was slamming him across the room, getting ready to basically eat him. And you do, in this movie, get to finally see Chewbacca rip somebody's arms out of their sockets, which I thought was fantastic, by the way. And the only reason Chewbacca doesn't kill him is because Han Solo can speak Wookiee a little bit. And he tells him, he says, I have a plan to escape, you know. And they escape together, and Chewbacca sticks by Han because Han basically saved his life. So you get the brotherhood of Han and Chewie, and there's a good moment to where he tells him his name. He's like, your name is Chewbacca. Well, I'm not going to say that every time. I've got to find a nickname for you, which is where Chewie comes from, and I like it. Also pay attention to, if you've seen The Last Jedi, those like little cufflink things that he puts, like the little dice. Pay attention to that. That's probably the reason you see him in The Last Jedi, because they were in Solo, and they're in Solo a lot. That basically lets you know, hey, I am Han Solo. Like, that's his calling card, basically. Like, anytime someone trusts him, they give him the dice. Like, you know, the dice go back and forth through the movie. It's really weird how they do it, but I like it, you know. The only thing I really hated about this movie was some of the acting, was over the top. And I didn't like that the whole thing was about getting coaxium. Even at the end, when it's a struggle, good versus bad, there is one fantastic moment that if you've not seen Clone Wars or Rebels, you're going to be thrown off completely. Like, if you're just a follower of the movies, you're going to be like, how is this possible? You've got to watch the animated series. I tell people all the time to watch the animated series. And this is a big spoiler, so if you don't want to hear it, get out now. Darth Maul is in this movie. Darth Maul is in this movie. Darth Maul is fantastic in this movie. I don't know if it's Ray Park. It looked like Ray Park playing Darth Maul. I have no idea if it's Ray Park, but he is at the very end of this movie, and this somewhat leads to a part where they can make a sequel to this movie. So I thought that was really fantastic how they brought Darth Maul in. Darth Maul does survive in the animated series. When Obi-Wan cuts him in half, he gets like a robotic bottom, and he is definitely alive until you get to Rebels, you know. And this movie we know now is set in between Rebels and Clone Wars, because Darth Maul is alive. So we know the setting of this movie now. To me, that was my favorite part of the movie, was seeing Maul, and they even played a little bit of Duel of the Fates during that scene, which is it was fantastic. To me, if you're going to go this movie and you're hating The Last Jedi, you're not going to have a good time in this movie. But if you love the animated series, if you love Star Wars action, if you love Han Solo, you're going to have a really good time with this movie. What am I going to give Solo, a Star Wars story? I'm going to give it a 3.8 out of 5, because I didn't really like the storyline they went with in the movie, but the action, the music, the couple cameos they made, it saved the film. It really saved the film. The guy playing Han Solo did a better job than I expected. Emilia Clarke was beautiful. Donald Glover was fantastic as Lando. Chewbacca, you got to see where Chewbacca came from. I enjoyed that. If you're a Star Wars fan, this is for you. This movie is for you if you're a Star Wars fan. If you're a casual Star Wars goer, you're going to be a little bit confused if you don't know what happened to Maul, if you don't know like certain things that the animated show would tell you or the books would tell you. So I'm going to give it a 3.8 out of 5. Solo, a Star Wars story. It is better than The Last Jedi. I'm going to tell you, if you don't think so, that's your opinion. But my opinion, I enjoyed it a lot more than The Last Jedi. 3.8 out of 5. Go see it right now.